Hi guys, welcome to adv.photos. Today I'm going to talk about where I'm looking to go this year in 2019. I don't just mean going professionally, but as in travel. I did a bit of travel photography back in 2017 when I went to Australia. I did a 3-week road trip. A lot of it was the Great Ocean Road from Torquay, which is the official start, I suppose. This is in Victoria, to Port Fairy, and I then cut up to Hall's Gap, which is in the Grampian Mountains, and back across to Melbourne for the last couple of days of my trip. That was a wonderful time. I went at the last 3 weeks of May 2017, and that's sort of like the start of their autumn, start-ish of their autumn, and it was wonderful. The weather wasn't too bad. It was a bit like early summer here, but with a hell of a lot less rain and a lot more sunshine. So yeah, I'm looking to go back to Australia or possibly Iceland the last 2 weeks of May this year. I can't go anywhere without tea though. Oh yeah, that's the wonderful thing about Iceland I discovered when I went there in October 2017. They have tea and normal milk, not milk like they have in on the continent from my childhood, which tasted Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about. So yes, so I've got 2 ideas so far for a trip at the end of the last 2 weeks of May. So like I said, I'm looking at Iceland. Flights to Iceland that time of year pretty cheap. Sunrise to sunset is only about 6 hours of actual what you would call night time there, between sort of like gone 10 in the evening until 4 in the morning, I think it is. So yeah, any later than the end of May and you're looking at continuous light all year round. But I have read on a few blogs that April, May and September, October are the best times to go. I would have to certainly agree with October, because I went to the last week of October and the weather wasn't too bad. It was a bit cold at night, it dropped below freezing, but the actual trip itself was quite good. I mean, I did make one mistake. It was a pretty big one. I based myself in Reykjavik, which limited how far I could travel on a single day, because for example the glacial lagoon down near Vik, that was over 5 hours driving there and would be 5 hours driving back, and there's no way I can do that. My back just wouldn't be able to take it, not to mention my feet and my legs, pretty much everything. So that was my one mistake, basing myself in Reykjavik. So if I do go back, I haven't decided yet if it's going to be Iceland or Australia, but if I do go back to Iceland, it'll be a case of coming into Reykjavik, staying in the centre of Reykjavik, because that's the other mistake I made where I was staying. I stayed right on the edge of Reykjavik, so it's a good 20-minute walk in, and it was on a hill, probably one of the highest hills surrounding Reykjavik, apart from obviously the mountains, which you can see in the distance. If you check out my 500 pics site, which I normally put a link to in the description, you'll be able to see some shots from the top of this hill, which had this huge building on it. I think it's a museum, sort of a natural history museum, and you can see 360 degrees from there everywhere. You can see the whole of Reykjavik below you, the domestic airport as well, basically the sea, and the mountains in the distance. Well, they are in the distance, but are pretty damn big. So that's something that I wasn't expecting, to be quite honest. But yeah, it was wonderful, really wonderful. Always nice and hot. But yeah, one thing to bear in mind when you go to somewhere like Iceland: food. Food is incredibly expensive. especially if you want meat and any kind of dairy produce like cheese. To give you some idea, I looked at a single pack of sliced cheese. Now over here that will cost you maybe quid 50. Over there it was like 7-8 quid. It's a massive difference, massive difference. But if you don't mind eating fish, fish is pretty damn cheap, because that's pretty much the only thing they do out there, fish and horses, but not for eating. I want to make that clear, horses are not for eating. So yeah, I'm looking at going back there and doing the ring road, because I've got 2 weeks, going along the ring road, starting at Reykjavik, like I said, staying in Reykjavik for a couple of days to do the central sort of city, which I didn't get to do, in the harbour and the opera house and all that sort of thing, the proper touristy type thing, I suppose you could say, before moving on along the southern coast to Vik, because the beach at Vik is incredible. I never got to see it, but I've followed a few blogs on here, a few channels on YouTube, and you hear about how black the beach is. And I've been to the Solheim plane wreck, I think I've said that right, and the beach there is black, but I didn't actually get down to the sea, mainly because it took me 3/4 an hour to walk from the car park at the road to the plane wreck, and I was carrying quite a heavy lens, which was a mistake. And yeah, you can see a few pictures of that as well in my Iceland gallery, which, like I said, I'll stick on the bottom of this, along with my Australian road trip gallery. I'll put that on as well. So I want to link to my, because I did a separate blog for that Australian trip. Oh, sorry, I did a blog for the Australian trip and the Iceland trip, so you can go and look at both of them and see my thoughts, and more of the photos than I put on my 500 pics site. So I didn't put all my photos on my 500 pics because that'd be too many. So yeah, Iceland, yes. Australia, now, having gone there twice now, once in December 2006 to January 2007, when England got hammered 5-0 in the Ashes by Australia. That's the reason I went out there the first time, and I just fell in love with the country after that. I've been itching to go back, and I got to go back for 3 weeks in May 2017, and like I said, I did the whole road trip thing, and that was wonderful, though I forgot to take a change of socks with me, so I had to go. One of the first things I had to do is go and buy more socks. And yeah, the pound, I suppose you get a bit more bang to your buck, so to speak, with the exchange rate to the pound to the Australian dollar. I mean, even now with the whole Brexit thing going on, it's still not that bad. Fuel prices were pretty much the same out there as they are here. In Iceland it was actually cheaper at the time, and I was driving a petrol, obviously. I don't know what diesel's like. Diesel was actually cheaper than petrol in Iceland, and the same in Australia. It just seems to be in this country where it's the other way around. Car rentals, that's the other expense. In Australia, it cost me about, was it £800 for 3 weeks. That included a sat nav and full insurance cover. Now Iceland, I have third-party fire and theft in my insurance for that. Now, depending on what happens at the end of March, I may or may not be covered. I will have to rent a car for a 2-week trip to Iceland, because basically the public transport doesn't exist. So unless you want to go on an organised coast trip, you're basically stuck where you are. So yeah, I'd look at car hire for that. You can either go through the main ones, or there is another company out there that use older vehicles, still just as good, they're just not brand spanking new, and they're cheaper. So if you want to get 4x4, which is what I want to get next time, so that I could do a bit more sort of because the main ring road is all tarmac, but as soon as you go off the main ring road, it's all gravel. It's black gravel type stuff, and if you're bombing along in a little Fiat 500 or something like that, you're going to damage it. and then you're going to end up having to pay for it through the insurance with, yeah, so there's that. But yes, I actually got upgraded when I went to Iceland. I was supposed to have a little roller skate, and they gave me a VW Golf estate. So they pushed me up 2 classes from where I was, and it was an automatic as well, which helped. I've never driven on the left hand side before, and there were a couple of instances where drove on the right hand side before, and there were a couple of instances where I was on the wrong side of the road for a brief few seconds before I realised, oh my god, wrong side of the road. Ah! So yeah. So yes, Australia. Now I'm thinking of either doing a road trip in New South Wales, so landing in Sydney and, well, actually landing in Brisbane and driving from Brisbane to Sydney, or driving from Sydney around the interior of New South Wales, because there's quite a lot to see there. There's forests, mountains, because of course that time of year they start the skiing season as well, which is quite good, though I won't be skiing obviously because I don't ski. So there's that, or I could go to Western Australia, so I'm flying up to Perth and then drive up the coast to Broome, I think it is. Now I may actually fly into Perth and then immediately catch a connecting flight from Perth to Broome and then drive down from Broome to Perth. So that may be a way to go. I haven't quite looked into that yet. I'm still deciding. There's plenty of places in the UK as well I'd like to visit. I've never been to Scotland, so I'd like to go to Scotland, though I might have to actually drive myself all the way up there. Now if I'm going to do that, I might do it sort of another sort of road trip thing, so drive up on the eastern side of England, so go through the Norfolk Broads, Yorkshire Dales, Yorkshire Moors, Northumberland, and into Scotland, and then come back down on the other side, so going through places like the Lake District, before cutting into Wales. I'm not entirely sure where the Peak District is in that, if it's before we get down to Wales, then through the Peak District as well, and then into North Wales to like Snowdonia, possibly cut onto Anglesey. I'm not sure if I'll do that or not. Last time I went to Anglesey, I ended up staying at a place outside the nuclear power station. So, but just carry on down through there to Brecon Beacons, coming out through South Wales, and coming back along the south coast, so like Dorset, so the Jurassic coast down there, before coming back to Sussex, which is where if you don't know, that's where I'm based. I'm based near Brighton. So yeah, that'd be a 2-week trip, but that would be a 2-week road trip, staying at various places. If it was the summer, I'd camp, but it's not. I know technically May is sort of summer, well, certainly for the cricket season anyway, but I'm not really up for camping. Hostels maybe. Just have to wait and see how much it would cost me. Plus I need to get my car serviced first, just to be sure it's not going to break down. Yes, I do have breakdown cover, before you ask. So yeah, there's that. There's also, I was thinking about Sicily before they had all those earthquakes. There's places like Norway, but I don't want to go there at that time of year. I'd rather go in the autumn, when the nights start to get darker and you start to get much clearer skies, for landscape photography. And so yeah, there's a few ideas. Another one a little bit further away would be somewhere like Canada, Nova Scotia. Now, surprisingly, flights aren't that expensive in May. I mean, it's like here, basically, only a bit colder. But yeah, car rental, don't know how much that's going to cost, and it's Canada, so I don't know how different they are to other places when it comes to insurance. And then there's where would I stay. So I've got a few things to look into. I mean, I've got a couple of months probably till the end of February to decide what I'm going to do. Hopefully by then I'll have a bit more money saved up, because at the moment I've basically got enough for my flights. If I went to Iceland, I've got enough for the flight and the probably accommodation, and that's about it. I'd have to, well, you have to use credit cards anyway to rent cars. They don't accept debit cards for some bizarre reason. So yeah. that's where I am on that particular area at the moment. On the wider scale of 2019, the plan is to at least once a month spend a weekend purely on photography. So planning whether I might decide that I'm going to go somewhere and shoot on a Sunday, so I spend Saturday preparing it. It depends on the weather as well. Like I say, I live in Sussex, so I've got the Sussex Downs, I've got the Sussex coastlines, I've got places like Brighton, Eastbourne, I've got Birling Gap, Seven Sisters, country parks like less than an hour's drive away. And if I really wanted to, I suppose I'd get on a train to London and do some street photography. So yes, that's my plan this year, is to really push it. I did a studio shoot in December, which was a portfolio shoot for myself and for 4 models and a makeup artist. I'm hoping to do that again in February, possibly with 1 or 2 of the same models. It depends. I really like to do it with UV paint, UV body paint. So I'd get a couple of UV lights, and the model would get all sort of like I suppose the word would be daubed up in this makeup, and they would then, because the lights would be on, that would help. It would absorb the light, but it'd probably go and stand by a window for a couple of minutes as well. Get the UV lights on and then light them up, and then it'd be a case of either doing experimenting with like long exposures. So it'd be almost like doing light painting, only it would be with body paint, UV body paint, with some UV lights lighting them up. So yeah, there's that, or just another basic studio portrait session like I did before. So I haven't decided on that yet. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much.